Here we have a stack of printer paper, and this is going to be letter size paper, 8.5 inches by 11 inches. Now we fold it in half, and we have what's called half letter size paper. Obvious where the name comes from. Still going to be 8.5 inches this way, but now it's the height. And then half of 11 inches is going to be 5.5. So here's a normal standard binder. Piece of paper, punch some holes with a hole punch, nothing mind-bending. But there are also binders for half letter size pages. So if we compare standard binder versus half size, and this is going to be more about the dimensions, although a little bigger. For what you'd see for like personal organizers, sketchbooks, and little mini notepads. You know, it's all roughly the same form factor size. And now we have dividers for the different pages in here. So an example of 4 dividers here. And an example of 6 dividers. Here we have 3 colors alternating twice. So here's the Blender file for creating the different types of dividers. When we open this document, we see that there is a Python script here. If we run this, we'll see that that created this panel right there. And that has the different options we can use to modify this this model here for the dividers. So tab width, we see modifying that's going to modify that tab right there. Tab height, the height of individual tabs. And we see that when we do that, this arrow down here moves. That's going to be like where after we create all the different tabs, where the final tab is going to end. So it creates the height. That means with 4 tabs, the bottom one's going to be like off the page, if we're like that tall. Thickness is going to be the thickness of the page. So right now at 0.4 millimeters, with 0.2 millimeters being a standard layer height on the 3D printer, that's going to be 2 layers. Index here should go from 1 to whatever our max index is. So that's going to be which tab we're creating. Max index is how many we plan to export out. So this means we should have 6 in the set, which would, you know, go way off the page here, all the way down to there. And to account for that, we would have to make the tab height smaller. And we want to adjust that until the arrow is back on the page for the last one. It's a little bit off still. Right about there is fine, right? Let's say if we wanted 10. Let's adjust this tab height here. All right, we set this at 10. The last one, we want this to end at the very end of the page still. You don't have to, but in this case I do. Right. We choose a file name we want to export to, let's say 10. That's going to save out to this folder here. So we see these STD4 and 6s. Here we're doing STD10 for a standard 10 set. Hit export pages. And that's going to create all the models 1 through 10 of the tabs. So if we take a look at them, 1, 2, we'll jump around, 9, 10. Yeah, that looks correct. Got this paper guillotine here. A piece of tape going down the line just to raise it up a bit so that if I put paper in this way, I can just lock it in by feel. 2 half-letter pages, and there are specialized hole punches for them. And then we also have a lot of these PDF files, and they're just going to be stationary pages. So if we look at this here, some of them are going to be 1 pages, some are going to be 2. Most of them are going to be vertical, but some are going to be horizontal. Either way, they're meant for letter-sized pages. And if it's got multiple pages, it's meant to be printed double-sided. As an example, you see on this front page, it's got 2 separate pages, one on the left, one on the right. There's a little header space on the top where you don't see these lines, and then on the next page, this is going to be the back sides. There's no header space, and it just continues on with more lines. So if we print this out, we want this printed at 100% actual size. And under printer settings, we'll go to this one. It should be landscape. Print on both sides. We'll want to switch this from none to, let's see, flip on the long end. For this one, either or is fine. It's fine. So now we're printing double-sided pages. There's a little misregistration there. These lines don't exactly line up. And it's not a document issue, it's a printer issue. As we can see, the angles don't even line up, but this is kind of a bootleg form of stationery, so it's more or less on the money as far as what we can expect from it. This is going to be a little too thick for this hole punch here, so we're going to divide it in halves and punch the 2 stacks separately. Let's see, let's look at this long planner here. So it's basically just a bunch of forms with events and dates on it, and it's just the one page, so there's not going to be any backside to it. Print on both sides, flip on the short edge. Okay, and with these grids, it's going to be something similar to what you see on an engineering pad, where you see there's a grid structure here as guides, as construction lines and all that. It's not actually printed on just one side, it's all on the back side, and that bleeds through to the front, even though it's not lightly printed with ink on, all the ink on the back side. Same thing that's going on here. Here we see I have the black binder, and if I cover up the page, you're not going to see the lines anymore. Typically, you'll want one or more like white pages behind it to let the light bleed through so it can shine the grid through. And then typically when you scan these, what you can do is you can put a black piece of paper on the back. It'll make the scan darker, but it'll also cover up the grid lines. And then in some kind of photo editing software, you can re-brighten it back up. If you like having notes day to day in an organized way, I guess you can do some of these. Let's see, so this needs to be printed because this is text is going from left to right, and here it's going from right to left. This right here should be the seam on which it's mirrored and printed on both sides. So properties, this is going to be a portrait aspect ratio. Flip on this long edge here, and that'll flip the text on the second page to match this first page when it's flipped over. Yeah, we'll just do one page here. So here's an old one that I found. I haven't used this one in a while. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget stickers. That's probably the most important part of all of this, right? If you don't have stickers on it, it's not legit. And this is like different, these are non-3D printed, but still custom dividers back in the olden days. I think I actually got this guy. Yeah, found it. It's a duct tape bag. Was planning it out with some illustrations before figuring out how to actually do the weaving and all that. And I guess some other duct tape ideas. Handles. More duct tape stuff. It's a nice way to keep ideas around, and then like if you want certain types of pages and guidelines, here a similar concept to this that I was explaining before, but here we have orthographic guides instead of the grid for 3D objects. Then usually I'll have like spare pages in the back that are empty, so you can kind of customize and get whatever type of paper you want, the pages, and add them and remove them as needed. You probably have issues with economy of scale compared to like this off an industrial press, compared to this off of like, your own home printer, especially if we all know the price of ink, but it still has a nice customizability to it, both the pages that go in here and the templating that are on the individual pages.